Better keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. What you gonna do in time of trouble? Judgment's yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah. Judgment's yeah. In time of trouble, yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah. What now? What you gonna do in time of trouble? Judgment's yeah. You better not yeah. Judgment's yeah. In time.
Shalom, shalom. First, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. Shout out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Greetings and blessings. Welcome to tonight's episode of Jacob's Trouble. This would be episode 20 of Jacob's Trouble. For those who are regulars, we've been covering everything for end time preparedness. Concerning Jacob's trouble, what is it? Spiritual preparation, different aspects of Jacob's trouble, whether it's cyber attacks, World War III, famine, hyperinflation. We covered the whole gamut of everything that would help our people prepare in the spirit and in the natural. Spirit is way more important. And with that, we are now we're covering religious exemptions, which this is also part of in time preparedness. Being able to stay employed and the rise of this wicked nation, a wicked world, because everyone's experiencing this. But last week it was episode 19. We covered how employers are trained to deny religious exemptions, some of the legal knowledge and things that they have. They're being trained by lawyers on what to look out for and ways to deny it. So, we played a live training from a law firm, and they went through a lot of scenarios in the law and their experience with employers dealing with religious exemptions. So having that insight gave us some good ammo and went to draft our religious exemptions. I covered the drafting part towards the end of that lesson, but some people had some upcoming exemptions that are due, and so I thought it would be a good idea just to spend the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes going over how to draft it to make it successful. Make sure you answer their questions, and we're going to go over some good exemptions. We're going to go over some bad ones, and hopefully you can put all this lesson together and create a good one for you that is successful. So welcome to tonight's episode. This is episode 20 of Jacob's Trouble, Religious Exemptions, How to Draft One. First, we're going to start with the link I posted in the at the top. This is a good template I found. If you found one from your congregation or camp, um, you know, go right ahead. It's not so much a template; it's just a guide on how to draft one and words to use. It does give you some draft of different sections that you want that you should consider. So definitely use this, copy it, and take whatever you have that you from this lesson and incorporate it into that template. So one thing you want to look out for. Let's get right to it. One thing you want to look out for is when you're drafting your religious exemption, you want to be clear, concise, and do not add any language you do not understand. Okay. So, when I say do not add any language you don't understand, let me just pull up one that was shared. This is not to say this person, and I'm not going to read any names, it's unnecessary. This was like a template where you kind of just fill in your name and, you just, just fill in your name and sign it. So one thing about that, it's not bad to do that. They just have a bunch of blanks and you just write your name in. That's not bad, but in some people, again, it depends on your employer. They may be very, I guess jerks, and say, did you really, did you get this off the internet, or did you even read this? So you could. It's rare that they would do that, but it could happen. So When I say language you don't understand, some people put a bunch of law in there or legal terms that they really don't understand, and that could cause some problems in terms of if they ask you follow-up questions or whatever. So one thing that that's something to be aware of. So be clear and concise. So let's go over one. I'm gonna go over one that is really good. This was sent to me. Someone asked me to look at, and it says this. Um, One thing. Now, before I back up, when you ask your employer for religious exemption, they may ask you to write an essay with just answer some questions, or they may give you a form to fill out. Now that form, it may be like a little small box. Somebody sent that to me. You want to type up your essay, and then in that little box say see attached, because that little box is not enough space to type everything that you need to type in. Okay. So let's go over, before I go over this one, I'm going to go over the questionnaire that somebody sent me. It's the same one I had. So um, it reads, a religious exemption to COVID-19 may be granted based on the individual's sincerely held religious belief, practice, or observance that prohibits COVID-19 vaccine. Now, we covered last week sincerely held religious belief. That is a legal term that, um, employers would have to acknowledge. So it doesn't mean that you have to have an organized religion. So most of us are, we're Israelites. So for one, Israelite is not a religion, it's a culture. So make sure you answer that cleanly. Some people put Hebrew faith, that works. Some people put Jewish messianic belief, that works. And it's not your job to educate them on, the intricacies of your faith. That's not your job. And it's not their job to ask. You can put anything, and as long as you can prove it's sincerely held and you've practiced that, they have to acknowledge it. So that's the good thing about the way they wrote that law. So, um, sincerely held religious belief observance that prohibits a COVID-19 vaccine. A religious belief, practice, or observance includes moral or ethical beliefs as to what is right and wrong, which are sincerely held with the strength of traditional religious views. Now they put traditional. That doesn't that's not legally binding, but since our faith is traditional and is one of the oldest, or the oldest, and they'll accept it. So again, make sure you put the faith, not your culture or not your nationality. That is, your nationality is not a religion. So Hebrew faith is a very safe way to say your belief. Um, and you're being truthful and you're answering the question directly. Now, here's a key one: social, political, or economic philosophies, as well as personal preferences, do not constitute sincerely religious held beliefs. Now, I have to admit, for this questionnaire to be presented this way to our people, they were very fair because they didn't have to put social, political, or economic philosophies. They could have left that blank, and if you start going into all this medical terms and your philosophies and social and political views, they could trap you and say, hey, this is political, this is not religious. But the fact that they gave you a warning: do not talk about social, political, or economic philosophies. These do not constitute sincerely held religious beliefs. Then there's a checkbox that says, I attest that my religious beliefs is sincerely held in receiving the COVID-19 vaccine conflicts with my religious beliefs. So you would check that box. And then it says here, identify in the box below your sincerely held religious belief. You may attach any documents that support your statement. Okay, so this box here is pretty small. I would not write in it. I mean, unless I say see statement attached, and make sure it's yeah, stapled. So let me go over what this person who sent me theirs said. This letter is to inform you that name is of the Hebrew faith and is a member of our community. As such, she is subject to obey the laws, customs, and traditions of the believers, which are found in the Torah and the Tanakh. In particular, are the laws, customs, traditions commanding believers to not live or do according to the doings of non-believers. Leviticus 18:3 and 4, and verse 30. Ezra chapter 9. One second. Sorry. Ezra chapter 9, 10 through 11. Isaiah 52 and 1, verse 11. This is in direct relation to all forms of vaccine and immunization, which are against the laws of the Torah. In light of these religious obligations, we therefore request that name be exempt from being required to be immunized for her spiritual beliefs and the way of life. These laws, customs are infinitely sacred, lie at the heart of our spiritual faith, and according to the severity of our lifestyle, cannot be disobeyed or broken. We petition that names, spiritual belief, and freedom of words should be recognized, acknowledged, and respected. We also request that no penalties of any kind be levied against her, educational, legal, disciplinary, financial, or otherwise. Her father, name, and she assert her right to decline all forms of vaccination and immunization under the contradiction. A contradiction is a specific situation in which a drug, procedure, or surgery should not be used because it may be harmful to the person. And then they put a medical link. That Me personally, I wouldn't do that. It's not bad, but then that opens the door for them to discuss legal stuff. I mean, medical stuff. Well, did you know? And uh, a I guess and a normal, I say normal, someone who's not really adverse. I mean, someone who's adverse to risk. They don't want any problems. They'll just ignore that. But unless this person is a medical doctor or can further elaborate follow-up questions regarding medical topics or things like that, um, you know feel free, because they may ask you some follow-up questions, so you would have to go back to your spiritual advisor and answer that. Now, this one good thing they did put, which I do like, and the template has this language as well. Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title 7 as amended, as appears in Volume 42 of the U.S. Code, beginning as section, they go to the section, employer and practices, it shall not be unlawful. One second, sorry. It shall not be unlawful. It shall be unlawful employment practice for an employer to fail or refuse to hire or discharge any individual or otherwise discriminate against any individual with respect to his compensation, terms, conditions, privileges of employment because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and to limit, segregate, classify his employees or applicants for employment, blah, 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 blah. So they just put that Title VII language in there, which is in the language, and worded otherwise is in the this template that I put here. So you could put that in there to let them know that it's in the Constitution. You can't object. And they put a link to the EEOC's website, which is good. And then they say, thank you for your consideration. We look forward to your cooperation. Rabbi name, and then the name of the congregation with the email address. Okay, so overall, this is good. This is a really good one. One thing I would add to this specific one is, which you should add to yours. Well, let's go over the goods. So he was clear, concise, did not add any language that people would question. I mean, they gave a link, but the company's lawyers would be able to answer that, and the person who put that link should be able to answer any follow-up questions, but nothing too crazy. You stated your religious belief. You said Hebrew faith. That's more than enough. And then you put some Bible verses. That's good. For me, I actually put the precept in there so they can read it. This individual put their just the book, chapter, verse, just as good. They can go look it up themselves if they care enough. And then you stated some law, which is good. One thing I will add. Well, let's go back to this. In your religious, they answered the question, in your religious belief that prevents you from taking the vaccine. Okay. They left out social commentary. Medical opinions, they put that in there in a sentence, but it's fine. It's nothing too big. Um, in the template, it says, it discusses aborted fetuses, that it's against your religion, and this and that. For me personally, I didn't include that in there. I just said the common one that Christians and everyone under the sun who believes somewhat in the Bible is using. Um, your body is the temple of the of the Lord. So I'm paraphrasing. Forgive me. They're using that one to say I can't defile anything that goes in it. To defile the temple. Blah blah blah. So that's a good one, but I didn't discuss the aborted fetuses. This one I just reviewed. Didn't discuss the aborted fetuses. So that's great. Um, you can, but again, we discussed this last week that if you go that route, start getting into medical things, they can come back and say, well, did you know that Tylenol was tested on aborted fetuses? And then you have to answer, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. So I mean, what you're with this religious box, this box is wide. It's wide. So your religious beliefs can evolve over time. We all know that. um they get more mature, or some people degrade, but they evolve, whether evolve or devolve. Okay. So the fact that they're telling you that about Tylenol, you could say, "Oh, I didn't, but thank you. I will research that, and if that is true, I will abstain. Thank you very much." But of course, everyone's ignoring the elephant in the room about the vaccine being tested on aborted fetuses, but that's a different topic. So this religious exemption I read did not go that route, which is great. I did not go that route. However, one thing about this exemption that I would add, and then I suggest that you add this too. Um, let me before I do that, let me go back to this one. This one I was reading, because it it discusses what I'm about to bring up. Now, in this one, it says, I'm going back to the request that someone asked me to look over. It says you may attach any documents that supports your statement. Now, you're not required to. So some people think they may need a letter from a pastor. This person had a letter. Um, you know that's perfect. You don't have to have a letter. So don't think, because I'm not a part of a congregation or a camp, I can't do a religious. No, you don't have to be part of. You don't have to go to church or camp or synagogue, mosque, whatever you want to put. You don't have to go there. That's not part of requirement. It has to be sincerely held. Your church attendance is not part of that. So, but for this one, it's a small box. So I would type it out and then write inside the box, please see personal statement attached. Okay. And then the next box says, explain how this religious beliefs prevent you from receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. And then that's when you go to your precepts. And in that example, in the example I just read, and in the example, the template I attached, it has some precepts, but of course, you can add your own precepts as well. So they're not, you're not being put into a box. So I believe that my body is the temple of the Most High, and then you quote the precept, and then you go over the other precepts about protection, and the other precepts about it wasn't physicians. I'm paraphrasing, please forgive me. It wasn't the physician, but the healing of your word. you know um, as long as we're obedient, we'll be covered. The curses that are not written in this book shall cover thee if you do not adhere to the laws of the Most High. That's in the part of the curses of Deuteronomy 28. So put in your precepts. You could do what this person did. They just listed the precepts, and make them go look if they care enough, or if they want to go do the work. Make them go look it up. I put it in there. I actually put the precept in there because I want them. I don't want any I don't want you to, well, can you? No, I put the precept there so you can, I'm making your job to say yes as easy as possible, and I'm making your job to say no as hard as possible. Okay. So in these two blanks within your personal essay, they will be able to answer the question. It says, by signing this document, I attest that my statement above is true and accurate, and that I hold a sincere religious belief that prohibits COVID-19 vaccine. And then it asks for the signature and date. And then it says, please note, as part of the exemption quality process, there may be follow-up review of this exemption. So this is where they may go into it and ask you questions, follow-up questions, okay? My follow-up questions were, how long have you, well, what organization are you a part of? And I just answered, I'm not part of any organization. And they asked, how long have you been a member of that organization? And I just said, see answer number one. I'm not a member of any organization. And then the other question was, what, have you in the past declined vaccines for the flu, hepatitis, measles, smallpox, like all this other stuff they listed? And if so, please provide your medical records from a physician. And, that lets us know when you started seeing this physician, and any medical records that you did not get the vaccine. Now, what they were fishing for in this follow up for mine was, how long have you been part of this religion? Okay, that's what they were fishing for. But so they want to know, well, have you taken these vaccines in the past? And I said, my answer was, I started, observing this religion, or this. I've had this sincerely held religious belief since 2016, and that's when I came into the truth. Um, since 2016, and my during that time, I have not taken any vaccines for. I've not had any immunizations, nor was any required to travel or for work. So therefore, I wouldn't have any medical records. And then, that was it. Clear, concise, and that was it. So, um, be ready for that. The follow up questions. If this request is approved, you will be required to practice universal masking in the workplace unless actively eating or drinking. Okay, so here we go. Again, I got to give it. I got to give a shot. I got to give credit where credit was due. These people who submitted or told the sister to fill this exemption request form out, they made sure they really they were fair, because they put in there the accommodation. Okay, so you have to request a specific accommodation. The accommodation may be depending on your job and how it was working during the pandemic. Um, my specific accommodation is, for me, I'm just going to say mine. My specific accommodation is, I request that I continue to work from home. I've been working from home since the pandemic, almost 2 years. I've had meetings and training, and no problems whatsoever. I've worked weekends and holidays, which I don't celebrate the holidays, and there were some times I did have to work on the Sabbath, but I got around that. So I was not in contact with any colleagues or clients or customers or anything like that. So me working from home would not be that is the accommodation I'm requesting. Now, you would specifically state the accommodation you're requesting. If you are in a workplace where you have to be around people, okay. Um, in this one, this is the medical field, so they gave the accommodation in the request. Like, you must be aware that you will have to wear masks the entire time you're at work, unless you are eating or drinking. So basically, your lunch break. So if that's the accommodation you're comfortable with, I would go ahead and do it. I mean, a mask, whatever. Sure, why not? Um, they could have, now what they could have done is, which some companies are doing to be, wicked as hell. They're not even stating that accommodation. They're just asking, what is your religion? What in your religion says you can't get the vaccine? And you're answering the question directly, and then they're saying, oh well, he didn't ask for an accommodation. So we did not, because he didn't ask for an accommodation. So here they said universal masking. Now, um, and for mine, I specifically stated the accommodation I wanted. And when you do this, um, when you write out your specific accommodation you're requesting, whether it's working from home, whether it's wearing a mask, Whether it's weekly testing, I wouldn't offer weekly testing. I would just offer a mask, okay, universal masking, unless eating and drinking, and then state that wearing a mask has been, safe and effective. It is safe and effective, and I will only take it off while eating and drinking, isolated from my colleagues, coworkers, and customers. Okay, so and make sure you put this. And me wearing a mask will not cause an undue hardship for the company. Now, we covered that last week. Undue hardship is any amount that the company has to spend to cover for you to have that accommodation. Under Title VII, the bar is much no, under ADA, the American Disability Act, the bar is extremely low. So you can tell them, hey, I'm in a wheelchair. You guys don't have a ramp. You guys need $80,000 to build this ramp. So, and usually when they building the buildings, they're aware of that, so it's not a problem. But I'm just saying. But for um, Title VII, that's where we're under. We are under Title VII. Under Title VII, the undue hardship can be very minimal. So, for instance, if you ask for the Sabbath off, if the boss says no, I would have to pay someone um, overtime to cover your shift. You can't have the Sabbath off because I have to pay overtime. That is an undue hardship. Someone just taking your shift, that's not an undue hardship. The employer is spending the exact same amount. Okay, so put that. I will wear a mask around customers, clients, colleagues, and I will only take it off by myself while eating and drinking. That will not that will not be an undue hardship to the company, which it won't be. You're wearing a mask. The company's not paying for a mask. So don't say weekly testing. Say the mask first. Let them come back and say, well, could you consider weekly testing? If they up the ante, before you agree to it, say, okay, if will it be accepted if I say yes to masking and weekly testing? And if they say yes, then go ahead and go with that. Weekly testing, I mean, it's free. There's some in my area, well, not in my area, but when I was in Houston, they had a service where you just make your appointment, and it was free, and you got it for less than 24 hours. I wish we'd known that the first time we traveled, but we used Walgreens, and it was a mess. But these people, I mean, you just pull up, they just barely, they swab whatever. Oops, literally 24 hours later, you get an email saying, um, negative. So that weekly testing is something you could just, provide. But don't offer that first. Don't give away all your concessions. Just start out with the mask, okay? I mean, and if you've been working from home, the company cannot say, well, you work from home is an undue hardship. No, it's not. I've been doing it for 18 months. Stop it. So if you have that privilege, just ask them to continue doing it. Um, and if they say, well, you might have to come in for meetings or whatever, then say, well, I could wear a mask as long as I'm, around, people or whatever until the meeting's over, and then I go back home. But if they say, but if they let you work from home, you can just say, we've been having meetings through Skype or, Teams or what's the other one? Zoom for 18 months. I can continue to chime in through those through those protocols. So don't give away all your concessions. If you're working from home, stick to that. That's your accommodation. It's not an undue hardship. If you're with people, medical, you're in construction, something like that, just say, hey, I'll wear a mask. And then let them push it to a mask plus weekly testing. They may just stop at the mask. So with this accommodation that this person submitted, or this request, they say you will be required to practice universal masking in the workplace unless actively eating or drinking. Now, if you agree, let me finish reading this. Please follow your local and state or facility guidance for testing as part of this exemption. Okay, so yeah, so they want the mask and testing. Okay, Please follow your local or state and or facility guidance for testing as part of this exemption. If your request is denied, you will either need to receive the COVID-19 vaccine or your employment will be terminated. Okay, so this one, the way I'm reading this is you will have to get testing as well as wear a mask. Um, in the meantime, I'll start looking for free testing centers. There's dozens of them, and see which one is the fastest to where you can get this done, weekly or however often they require. They didn't say, but they'll let you know, and you could ask them like, how often should I be getting tested? Which I think the standard is weekly. Okay. Now, here's the thing: if you agree to this, they're going to be watching you like a hawk in terms of that mask. So there was a case that I didn't know this was an actual case, but you'd be surprised what's litigated these days. So there was a case before the pandemic. This guy, the company mandated that everyone get the flu shot. Um, he said no, it's against my religion. They asked for the exemption. He asked for the exemption. They gave him the exemption, but they said, hey, during flu season, you have to wear a mask in the office. Now this is pre-pandemic. Uh, he agreed. Okay, but here's the thing: he was wearing a mask every day. He was wearing a mask every day. Religiously. And then he started getting laxed and laxed and laxed. And to the point, he just wasn't wearing it. Now, HR is watching you like a hawk. Your colleagues are watching you like a hawk. Your manager, everyone's going to be watching you when you agree to this. So, and with his case, they fired him because he wasn't following the protocol. And then he tried to say, well, it's because of my religion. That's why they fired me. And no, the court said, no, your exemption was accepted with the accommodation that or the requirement that you both agreed to. So your mask during flu season was part of your employment, which you refused to do. So they sided with the company. So that case law is on the books. So be aware, if you agree to this, they will be watching you like a hawk. So just be aware of that. So that's what they're going to be doing. So I think that is, let me go back to my notes really quick. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's do a quick recap and then I can open up for some questions if there's any. I mean, if you feel nervous, just DM me the question real quick and I'll read it out loud. I won't give your name and then we can answer it. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for religious exemption. It's not, you're not, writing up the Constitution. Be clear, concise. Do not add any language you do not understand. Be clear in your religious beliefs. Be clear and concise in what in your religious beliefs prevent you from taking the vaccine. I will leave out social commentary. Now, this is one, I'm not getting on this person. You know, and that's the thing. Some people just don't know what they're doing. Some people they get they just do a quick Google search and they look up an exemption, and they it says religious exemption, and they sign it. So um, let's compare and contrast the last part of these two exemptions. So the last one I read, I mean the last one I read, it says. Um, they end with Title VII. At the end, it says, "Thank you for your consideration. We look forward to your cooperation." This one says, "Furthermore, they and um, they say if you fail to respond, this is a different one. If you fail to respond and try to take any action against me while working, you will be held liable for damages and loss of wages with interest. Any retaliation due because of this affidavit, you will be held for." And see, here's the thing: they said it twice. So you definitely got to read this over. And I made a mistake on mine too, and it was I put two instead of the, but we all just got to be a little diligent. So they stated it twice, and they just stated it a different way. Furthermore, your choice to deny, they put deny in capital letter. There's no reason for that should be. If you no choice to deny my request for religious exemption, you are manifesting and showing by the fruits that you bear you are a servant to Satan and not the Lord of the true living God. I would delete that. It's a distraction. It serves no purpose. We know what system we're in. The employer, like, put yourself in an employer's shoes, not Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates, but someone who just owns a business. You don't know, you're trying to be legally compliant, and you're trying to give your employees every opportunity to, whether they want a vaccine or whether they want an exemption. You're trying to be as fair as possible, and then someone submits this to you, saying, if you deny this, you are a servant of Satan. How would you take it? You know, this it's really distracting in terms of the HR, like, what the hell. So I would delete it. It's not helpful. And again, it's not to say the overall exemption is not it's not. I'm not saying it's not good. It's good, but that language is it's a distraction. Okay. um and the legal language they chose to use, you could put that, and you could add the Title 7's in the Constitution, so they can't get over that. In both these affidavits, the two I just read over, I would include the specific accommodation that you are requesting. So part of the religious exemption is you're stating your religious belief, you're clear and concise. We're doing this recap. You're stating your religious belief, clear and concise, and you are stating the accommodation that you're requesting. Now, in the form that someone submitted to me, that I just read over, they put the accommodation in there. Like, this is if we accept your exemption, you have to abide by this universal masking and testing. So they'll let you know if it's weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, but they put that in there. So you don't get much negotiating power anyway. But for those who are, say, it's more of an essay that you are submitting to them, or they just say, submit an essay, or have this questionnaire. Because in my questionnaire, um, they asked me, what is the accommodation you're requesting, and I just said, we've been working from home. Let's continue to work from home. If not such policy, just go to the masking, and then let them come back with masking plus testing. If they agree on masking, then you just stick to masking. But I'm sure most places are going to do the masking plus weekly testing if they approve these. So, clear and concise in your sincerely held religious belief. Hebrew faith works just as well as anything else. Do not be do not stay away from social, political, economic views. It doesn't help. Stay away from name calling. That does not help. Um, and stay away from language you don't understand. I mean, of course, if you understand it, put that language in there. Be prepared for follow-up questions. Be prepared for follow-up questions. Okay. And specifically state the accommodation that you're requesting, and state that it is not an undue hardship to the company. Now, because you state that doesn't mean it is or it isn't, but you are stating that letting them know that you are aware that of the hurdle of undue hardship. So a mask and weekly testing is not, that's common. Everyone's been doing that for 18 months. But whatever you're requesting, just make sure that it's it's that you state that it's this is the accommodation, and it's not an undue hardship to the company. And there's only, like, two or three things that or three things that we will be requesting: working from home, masking, or the testing. Okay. So with that, that ends tonight's lesson. Hopefully it was helpful. And if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand. We'll bring you up, or you can just DM me the questions, and we'll get you squared away. But Mike or King Ben, something you want to add or ask during this time?
No, I think you covered everything pretty well. Very good lesson. Concise. So, I feel like everything was covered. So I don't have
King Ben, what about you? Okay, he probably stepped away. So I mean, that's it. I mean, this is not, this is exemption. We didn't, the children of Israel did not write this law. They, they put that in their constitution, and it's kind of hard to like, oh, now. And here's the thing. So I guess I can go, just go for a few more minutes, and just in case someone's getting their questions ready. Um, the religious exemption. When you hear stories of, they deny religious exemptions, don't think they denied it because the religion is not valid. I mean, there's no way for them to prove that it's not. Um, they may be able to prove that it's you're not sincere about it. They can prove that because I mean, from what I'm hearing from everybody, everyone has become religious these days. Whether people are coming into the truth, whether people are joining whatever to get these exemptions done. So that lets you know there's a large number of the unvaccinated who are applying for these religious exemptions. So when you hear in the news, we deny religious exemptions. Did you deny it because the religion, or did you deny it because it's an undue hardship? So don't get discouraged when you see news stories about people getting their religious exemption denied. They're doing that because they're trying to discourage you from doing it. Well, they're denying everyone, so I'm not going to apply. No, no, apply for yours. Your company may be very like, yeah, whatever. Um, you know, I think our company as a whole, we had a meeting yesterday. Um, they don't, they prefer 100% vaccination, but of course, there's some of us are saying, you guys can go to hell, and it's a pain point from the unvaccinated religious exemption staff that are we going to deny these religious exemptions, and how much is that going to cost us? So that's why we talked about this in the summertime. We talked about this that this day was coming. So you want to make sure you have a track record that they look back on when you apply for the religious when you apply for this exemption, as we're doing right now. They look back in the past 4 or 5 months, 6 months, and they see, oh no, so and so, man, no, if we lose him or her, we're going to be in trouble. So for me, I was volunteering. I wasn't volunteering. Well, yeah, I was volunteering on the pain in the ass assignments that no one wanted. I was volunteering. I was, working weekends, and at first my spirit was vexed because I was working on the Sabbath. But the way I got around that was, they said who can work Saturday. They didn't give me a time, so after the couple of Sabbaths, I was vexed. The Lord gave me, the not the I guess the enlightenment to just wait till the sun is down. It's still Saturday, so or the Sabbath. It's still the day, but you're just starting at night. So that's what I would do. I would log in at Saturday night or after the Sabbath and start working. So I still technically worked the weekends. So they look back and they're going to see oh, Leo volunteered for this, or Leo volunteered for that. So you took that time knowing that this day was coming to put your best foot forward, eat shit, let some people, you took the hard assignments, you stayed late, you got there early. And so when they look at this, there's a precept for this. 1 second. I mean, if any of us can remember that one, that's the one. When your ways please the Most High, He'll make your enemies be at peace with you. And there's another one too. This one is let me bring this one out. But the point is, they have that. They're looking back. I mean, HR, they see everything. They see when you're clocking in, clocking out. If clocked in too early, or you clocked out too late trying to get some extra hours and stuff like that. They see all that. The Most High sees it. They see it too. So when they see this and they say, oh, Mike, okay, can we just deny it? And, he quit. Like someone's been like, no, 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 no. You lose him. Remember he came in that day that no one else wanted to. He volunteered when no one else wanted to. Are you going to find someone to replace him? And then, the Most High is going to, I believe the Most High is going to put on their heart and be like, yeah, just approve it, you know. So this is Psalms 64, verse 1. Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. and from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. So as the wicked are having their secret council of who to fire and what exemptions to deny and all this, they're not thinking about you. Okay. So, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I have the other one.
Oh, Khan, bring that up.
All right, so this is Proverbs 16:7. It says, "When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him."
Khan. So, you know, we if you were coming into the news, we talked about this a lot of times during the summer when they were, people were applying for exemptions and fake vaccination cards. Like, start that track record. We should always have that track record, but more so now. Like then in the summer, to where your employer says, "Nah, we can't let that person go." Listen, just give him the exemption. I don't know what this Hebrew faith is. Is that Jewish? I don't know. Who cares? We need him. Now again, if they deny it, you know, if they accept it, all praises. If they deny it, all praises. You still praise the Lord. He's going to take care of you. He promised he will take care of us. They haven't said anything about my exemption. I emailed after the follow-up questions. It's about 2 weeks have passed, and I emailed her Monday and said, "Hey, I'm just asking for an update on my exemption," and she didn't say anything. And usually HR gets to me, pretty quickly if it's an HR issue, of course. They didn't say anything. But in the meeting, we had the like our monthly meeting, and the consensus from the meeting was, if you did not hear from HR, assume there's not a problem, and keep working. So that was for the vaccinated people who submitted their clear pass, and for those who submitted exemptions. If you did, if HR will contact you if there's a problem, and the manager moved on. So I'm taking that as still have a job. Of course, that could change, and whatever. I move on. But again, we're not holding on to this world. This is just we're just stalling until the Most High sends His final judgment upon this place, or crashes the dollar, and whatever the form of His judgment may be. It's numerous and specific, but um, that's all we're doing. We're just working these jobs to pay our bills to keep moving on to the next stop until the next, season of this judgment takes place. So, if they let me go, or they deny it, it's fine, whatever. I move on. You know, I don't care. Um, I would like to stay. It's easy. I don't have to be around people. But again, I'm not gonna take the vaccine to stay at this job. They can kiss my ass. But um, that's all it is. So don't put your faith in this. I pray to the Most High. Most High, you are the provider. I'm asking you that you preserve my life from the fear of the enemy, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, um, and I will humbly asking you to get this religious exemption approved. And so far so good. So I'm moving as if it's approved. I'm thanking him that it's approved, and I'm working as it's approved. I'm not like slacking off, like, they haven't answered me. Let me, I ain't working. No, no, no. I'm still working the same amount of hours, putting in the same amount of work ethic, and just doing the best job I can. So I pray that you all do the same. And as of now, we have no questions. So I think we can kind of close out. If this is on replay, so feel free to share with your friends and family. Share this link. It's a good guide. I like it a lot. The exemptions that I used today, those are good. I mean, they're good. It's I would just remember the specific accommodation you're requesting. If they put that in a separate form or something, or a separate sheet, that's fine. Just answer it. But have it all together and neat and polished. So with that, Mike or King Ben, is there anything else you want to add? Okay.
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you covered it.
Con. Well, if that, feel free to DM me if you guys have any questions. Let me just check real quick. Nope, no DMs. Okay, so if you have any questions, just DM me. Get those done. Read over it when you finish. Read it out loud to kind of catch any typos or errors. I had a couple of typos. it didn't, they knew what I meant, but still you want to have it as polished as possible. So proofread it and make sure it's typed. Do not write it and do not submit anything orally. You want to make sure there's no, well, I couldn't read this, so I had to deny it. No, type it out. Okay. So with that being said, give all praises again to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Thank you for his grace and mercy. Thank you all for coming out. There's the sisters room coming up in about 5 minutes. And I think that other room is still going on. I haven't checked. If you haven't become a member, click on the green house. Be sure to join. We will have our mid-morning brew blend tomorrow morning at our normal time. So with that, we say all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai again, and Shalom.
Yeah. In time of trouble, yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah. What now? What you gonna do? In time of trouble, trouble. Yeah.